When King Charles arrived at Lancaster Castle, he expected bows. He expected polite silence. What he got instead were banners, boos, and a wall of resistance. The streets weren't lined with royalists waving Union Jacks. They were packed with protesters holding signs that didn't hold back. Not my king. Abolish the monarchy. Cut the royals off. And this wasn't some fringe movement. These were teachers, students, NHS workers, pensioners, real people with real lives, real struggles. And they are tired of being ignored, tired of austerity, tired of watching billions poured into an institution that gives them nothing back while their communities collapse. They didn't come for drama, they came because they're sick of watching golden carriages roll past food banks. They're sick of being told that respect for inherited privilege is a national virtue, and they're done pretending that royalty deserves reverence just for existing. One woman shouted, "We can't afford rent and we're paying for his inheritance? That's not tradition, it's theft." And it's hard to argue with her, because what Lancaster revealed was a truth the establishment doesn't want us to see. The monarchy isn't beloved, it's barely tolerated, and in many quarters it's deeply resented. Britain is tired, not just from inflation and rent hikes and crumbling services, but from the staggering inequality baked into every part of our national fabric. While Charles walks through halls lined with gold leaf, families in Lancaster are facing eviction. The disparity is honestly nauseating. And let's not pretend this is just a bad PR week for the royals. This isn't about one awkward encounter. This is a deeper unraveling. A monarchy facing a crisis, not just of image, but of purpose. King Charles didn't just inherit a crown. He inherited centuries of imperial wealth, secrecy, and unearned deference. And rather than acknowledge that weight, he reinforces it. This is a man whose public funding, the sovereign grant, just hit £86 million a year. And that doesn't even cover security or the vast personal wealth locked away in the Duchy of Cornwall and the Duchy of Lancaster. Private estates, tax-exempt, beyond scrutiny, beyond shame, and all while millions are stuck on zero-hour contracts, struggling to heat their homes, watching their local services collapse. And yet Charles doesn't seem to notice the contradiction. He'll give a speech about sustainability while arriving in a motorcade. He'll talk about climate while overseeing palaces that waste more energy than entire towns. It's performative, it's detached, and honestly, people are noticing. And while we're at it, let's talk about Camilla, because she's not getting a free pass either. Remember Hexam? Boos echoed through the crowd as she stepped out of the car. People aren't forgetting who she is, or how she came into this role. The PR machine can spin all it wants, but let's not pretend history's been erased. Camilla was once one of the most reviled women in the country. She was part of a love triangle that shook the monarchy to its core. Her ascent was never earned. It was curated, carefully massaged into public acceptance. But acceptance isn't affection. And well, the boos prove that. What's most insulting, though, is that in the middle of all this economic despair, in a country where food banks are now part of daily life, we're still footing the bill for luxury processions, gilded uniforms, and photo ops on palace balconies. And for what? Tradition? That word doesn't hold the weight it used to. The truth is, the monarchy still operates like a fortress. No transparency, no real accountability. When was the last time we got a full breakdown of their finances, or saw any serious consequences for royal misconduct? The answer is never. Because honestly, this isn't just an outdated institution, it's a protected one, a ring-fenced hierarchy that floats above the law. And it's not just about money, it's about morality. This monarchy wants to call itself modern, but it refuses to reckon with its own past. The empire, the Commonwealth, slavery, colonization. Charles once called slavery an appalling atrocity. But where's the action? Where are the reparations? Where's the return of stolen artifacts? Speeches aren't justice. They're PR. Look at Trooping the Color, the pageantry, the red coats, the brass bands. It's theater. Glossy distraction meant to project national pride, but all it really does is remind us who's on the balcony and who's not. A parade of privilege in a country that desperately needs progress. And in the middle of this royal circus, Harry and Meghan remain the scapegoats. Why? Because they said the quiet part out loud. They revealed the cruelty behind the curtain, the silence, the isolation, the control, and for that, they were thrown under the bus, vilified and hounded. Yet outside the UK, they're praised. They're seen as voices of change, of compassion. They've launched charities, spoken openly about mental health, stood up to injustice, and for all that, the press here still calls them selfish. Why? Because they left a system designed to chew them up? It's no wonder the younger generation is turning away from the monarchy. They don't see Charles as a father figure. They see him as a landlord, an elite, a man born into untouchable privilege. And they don't see Camilla as a beloved matriarch. They see someone gifted a crown she never earned. The royal family loves to talk about duty and service, but real service looks like NHS workers pulling 14-hour shifts, teachers buying their own classroom supplies, delivery drivers working through strikes just to make rent. Real service doesn't come with a Bentley, a tiara, and a press team. And let's not forget the role of the media in all this. The tabloids bend over backwards to protect Charles, to sanitize Camilla, to smear dissent. They mock protesters, they bury footage, but they can't delete the internet. They can't stop people from seeing what's really happening. Social media has changed everything. When a sea of protest signs fills your feed, when chants echo on TikTok and Twitter and YouTube, no royal photo op can drown that out. The digital age is pulling back the curtain, and what we're seeing is a monarchy badly out of step with the country it claims to serve. And yes, Charles knows this, so does Camilla. That's why the events are more controlled than ever. That's why protesters get arrested before they can even speak. That's why security is tighter than ever. Because deep down, they know what's coming. They feel it. This isn't just about bad headlines. This is an existential threat. The monarchy is losing its last lifeline, public legitimacy. Without that, they're just fabulously wealthy people in cosplay. And you know, the people are starting to see through the act. Lancaster was a turning point, but it wasn't isolated. It's part of a wave, an awakening. What once seemed like radical fringe opinion, abolish the monarchy, is becoming mainstream conversation. People are asking, why are we still doing this? And honestly, they deserve an honest answer. To those still defending Charles and Camilla, I ask, what are they actually giving back? Not words, not speeches, not smiles from the balcony, real, measurable contribution. What are they doing that justifies this incredible wealth and power? Because if you can't answer that, maybe it's time to rethink what we're clapping for. Tradition isn't a shield from scrutiny, especially when that tradition is rooted in empire, inequality, and silence. And honestly, no amount of pageantry can hide that forever. So yes, if Charles and Camilla are uncomfortable right now, good, they should be. Because discomfort is the first step toward accountability. And for too long, they've lived without either. This isn't a story of decline, it's a story of reckoning. And it's not the end of something sacred, it's the beginning of something honest. What comes next? That's up to us.